They did not ban human weapons. They did not ban human technology. They banned human love, because love was the only force in the universe the aliens could not control. The galaxy was ruled by laws older than most stars. Laws that shaped travel routes, controlled wars, and decided which species could grow, and which must remain small. Among all those rules, one law was never spoken aloud in public. It was written quietly, enforced perfectly, and feared even by those who created it. It was the law that said humans were not allowed to feel love. When humans first reached the wider galaxy, no one saw them as a threat. They arrived in fragile ships, curious, hopeful, carrying messages of peace. Their weapons were weak, their technology incomplete, and their worlds deeply divided. The great alien civilizations welcomed them, not as equals, but as a harmless new species that would learn, adapt, and obey. What the aliens did not expect was what they discovered when they studied humans closely. They observed humans in controlled environments, on stations and distant colonies. They watched how humans reacted under stress, how they behaved in danger, and how they made decisions when logic said one thing and emotion said another. At first, the data made no sense. Humans risked themselves for others without any gain. They broke orders to save friends. They stayed behind to protect strangers. They mourned the dead in ways no other species understood. Alien scientists tried to label it. Some called it emotional instability. Others called it a biological flaw. One researcher, however, wrote a simple note that changed everything. Humans do not act to survive alone. They act so that others may survive. That idea spread fear through the council. Most alien species were built on calculation. They valued balance, efficiency, and long-term survival of the collective. Sacrifice was acceptable, but only when it was measured and controlled. Love, as humans experienced it, ignored balance. It pushed individuals to do the impossible without caring about the cost. Simulations were run. In every model, a human who loved someone broke the rules of probability. Humans with nothing to lose surrendered. Humans with someone to protect fought beyond reason. Love made humans fearless. And fearlessness could not be controlled. The council met in silence. Elders from hundreds of species shared their conclusions. Love was not just an emotion. It was a force that could spread. If other species learned to feel as humans did, empires would fall. Control would weaken. Order would dissolve. So, they voted. The law was passed without ceremony. Humans would not be destroyed. They would not be enslaved. They would simply be changed. The solution was elegant and cruel. Neural dampeners were developed. Small implants placed in every human citizen under the excuse of health and integration. The devices did not erase memory or intelligence. Instead, they dulled emotional extremes. Humans could still feel calm affection, mild happiness, and polite attachment. But deep love, sacrifice, overwhelming connection, those were quietly removed. Most humans never knew what they lost. Life continued. Humans worked, traded, and expanded, slowly. Their cities grew quieter. Their art became technical. Music followed rules, but carried no fire. Families still existed, but their bonds were shallow and careful. Humans stopped dreaming of impossible things. The galaxy called it stability. On a distant archival station lived a human named Elias Morin. He worked alone, cataloging the rise and fall of alien civilizations. His job was to remember what others wanted forgotten. Over years of study, Elias noticed a pattern. Every civilization that collapsed shared one fear. They feared emotion. They feared attachment. They feared caring too deeply. One day, a powerful solar storm struck the station. Systems failed briefly, then recovered. Elias felt something break inside his head. At first, there was pain. Then came something else. Something warm, sharp, overwhelming. Memories returned with force. He remembered his mother holding him as a child, not just the image, but the feeling. Safety, love, the kind of connection that makes pain worth surviving. Elias collapsed to the floor, shaking, laughing and crying at the same time, unable to control the flood of emotion. For the first time in his life, he understood that something had always been missing. An alien overseer named Sailrin observed the incident. She had studied humans for decades, always from a distance. But Elias was different now. His voice had changed. His eyes carried a depth she had never seen before. When he spoke of his mother, there was weight in his words, enough to make Sailrin pause. She should have reported him immediately. Instead, she asked a question she had never asked before. Why does this feeling matter so much? Elias answered as simply as he could. Love gives meaning to pain. It makes suffering matter. It turns life into more than survival. Sailrin did not fully understand, but something inside her shifted. She searched restricted archives and uncovered the hidden history of the law. Long ago, an ancient species had learned to love deeply. They stopped conquering. They chose care over expansion. Other empires feared this change, and erased them. Love had not caused war. It had ended it. Sailrin made a choice no logic system could justify. She disabled her own emotional suppressor. The first feeling she experienced was guilt. The second was hope. Together, she and Elias acted. Elias used the archive network to send a signal across the galaxy. Not a message of rebellion. Not a threat. He sent emotion itself. Memories of human love, raw and uncontrolled. Parents protecting children. Friends standing together in fear. Strangers helping strangers with no promise of reward. The signal reached worlds unprepared to feel. Some aliens collapsed under the weight of it. Some wept. Some felt peace. Some questioned their entire history. Soldiers hesitated. Leaders paused. Calculations failed, because emotion had entered the system. The council panicked. Orders were given to shut down the network, but it was too late. Love, once felt, could not be removed. The law was revoked quietly, without apology. Elias was imprisoned, not as a criminal, but as a reminder. Sailrin stayed with him, not as an overseer, but as a friend. Across human worlds, emotion returned slowly, and painfully. Grief came back. Fear returned, but so did meaning. The galaxy finally learned the lesson it had avoided for millennia. Power without love creates control, but not life. Love could not be controlled, and that was why it mattered. In the end, the law that banned human love failed for one simple reason. Love was never humanity's weakness. It was the one thing that saved everyone.